So let's talk context in this video. How exactly are the evil spirits and entities of the Necronomicon made? And by these, I mean like the ghosts, the specters, the ghouls, the stuff like that. So let's get into it.
Necronomicon is coming.
So for this one, I actually have a pretty good script, so I'm really just going to be reading off of that because I wrote it once and it was pretty good. So we'll talk about the spirits of the dead first. The Necronomicon contains formulae for opening the Gate of Ganzir, the city of the dead. Now, this wasn't just a spiritual place, it was more of an actual place that could be visited, by the way. Um, yep, to commune with the spirits of the dead and allegorically the subconscious mind. Remember, there's always a psychological element. To explore this, it is important to understand the Mesopotamian views of what happens after death. The Gidim, or spirits of the dead, were what became of the souls of people who had transitioned from life to death. To the Mesopotamians, two factors accounted for life: breath and blood. So if you weren't breathing anymore or you lost too much blood, you were considered dead. Yeah, basically I just read that next line. When a person died, they were seen as entering a sort of deep sleep. From there, the Gadim of the individual descended into Ganzir, which was seen as an underground and other dimensional place that was close to and yet far from the mortal world. The city of Ganzir was said to have 7 walls surrounding it, and this is reflected in the tale of the sleep of Ishtar, or Ishtar's descent into the underworld, where Ishtar had to commune with Ningishita while descending through 7 gates to enter the underworld dwelling, shedding 1 piece of jewelry at each gate, arriving naked in the city. Allegorically, she was stripped of her worldly possessions and therefore her worldly persona, shedding her material and physical body and embracing her spiritual astral body of light, which is mentioned in the Necronomicon. That's what we're actually trying to build through the gate walking, because you're not only going up, you're technically also going down. So once Ishtar was down there, she was then killed by Ereshkigal, then eventually resurrected. Unlike other Gidim, Ishtar was able to escape Ganzir with the help of 2 of Enki's servants who provided the food of life and water of life to revive her and return with her to the surface. She had to sacrifice her husband to the city of Ganzir for half a year at a time to appease this condition. This was not seen as a possibility to mankind, however. To appease the Gidim of loved ones who had passed on, the male next of kin was to make offerings of food and drink on a regular basis because the food available in Ganzir to those that were living there was akin to dirt, and the water dirty and bitter tasting. If these rites were not performed or done incorrectly, the Gidim would become restless and hungry and leave Ganzir in search of sustenance in the physical world. Although they always had to return, and because they were of a different plane at that point, they weren't entirely physical, so that's why they could make people suffer on a spiritual level. Some Gidim who were given regular offerings were often seen as helpful spirits who could be called upon to assist their living relatives in everyday affairs. This goes along with the worshipping of the ancestors, which a lot of spiritual paths have. Mortals can visit Ganzir through secret entrances, or they could, through secret entrances that were hidden within each major city in Babylon and Sumer. There were certain restrictions that allowed safe passage, which included being clad in dirty clothes, anointed with clean oil, no footwear, no weapons, and exhibiting a period of reservedness and aloof behavior towards one's own family and friends, creating an emotional distance and social isolation. These unkempt and antisocial conditions can be seen as acting in accord with the dead themselves, being dirty, unarmed, anointed for burial, and essentially non-existent from the mortal realm. So, spirits of the dead could become malicious in nature and wreak havoc on the lives of the living. Gidim were thought to turn angry or become destructive forces if not buried properly, or if they were unwed at the time of their demise, or died painfully. These Gidim were thought to cause sickness, headaches, and other maladies upon the living, and were feared in Mesopotamian society as a real force that could influence everyday life and explain various misfortunes or health problems. Other spirits that were once residents of the city of Ganzir are the Gula, who followed Inanna out of the pit when she rose from the dead. These spirits came to be known as a sort of savior for people who were near death and somehow survived, kind of like guardian angels. In Mesopotamian culture, if you were to recover from a very threatening illness, credit would not only be given to the Dingir, but to the Gula as well. As it can be seen, the ancient people had a great reverence for the dead as well as the gods. So yeah, there was a little bit of an excerpt that I wrote from my MS, which is, that's my gig. That's where I got all my info. That's where I put all my info. So let me know what you guys think about this, because that was a bit of an explanation of what the different kind of bad entities or negative entities are like, and gives you a bit of a context as to what Ganzir is like as well. There was one other point that I wanted to make that I might not have put in there um, about Ganzir, but I kind of, yeah, I lost it. Anyway, let me know what you think. Good hunting.